The Lost Signals present
The Joke on the Children,
a Bon Mott's Halloween series.
What's up, ninjas?
Celebrating
Left turn.
horror
Sequels.
with in-depth analysis,
do I look like someone who cares what God thinks?
adult content,
It's okay, he just wanted his machete back!
adult language,
Well, that's just what we call pillow talk, baby.
and spoilers.
If he dies, I'll be a murderer.
Join us.
God, I love these parallel universes.
Hello, and welcome back to MOTS-O-Ween. This is our yearly episodes that we do about scary movies. This year we're doing left turn movies, as I believe we mentioned in the previous episode. So
We're not.
for this or maybe this is the first one. Who knows?
No, I don't remember if I mentioned it or not last time.
Oh. Doesn't matter. For this episode, we're doing Army of Darkness, and I am Steve-O, joined today by Chris Morgan,
Groovy, baby.
Ian Manzer,
Hi.
and Scott Thurlow.
Hello there, you primitive screwheads.
And I think we're just going to get right into it with the intro body conclusion, and Ian's going to kick us off here.
So, this movie is sort of a poor man's Harrison Ford is doing slapstick at the Renaissance Fair.
That's pretty accurate.
But Bruce Campbell, who is one of my favorite actors today, and his kind of earnest humor that he has, this is the third in the series of Evil Dead movies, and at the end of Evil Dead 2, he's sent back in time to the medieval ages, where he's given a quest by an old wizard-ish figure.
Yeah, wise man.
Yes, and he reluctantly and sarcastically, as you par to his character, decides to go on it, and gets, again, into slapstick humor, and eventually causes the army of the dead to rise and march upon a small castle where he must lead the townsfolk and knights in battle against the evil dead.
The Army of Darkness.
Yeah, that's a pretty succinct description of the movie.
I thought you were going to go with humorous hero's journey, which I think is kind of accurate as well.
So, I actually just thought of this, and it may sound kind of negative, but Bruce Campbell in the Evil Dead movies is kind of like Eric Matthews in the Boy Meets World, in Boy Meets World, where he starts off as like kind of an earnest but like normal character and becomes more and more ridiculous throughout until at the end when they're in college, he's just completely slapstick and insane.
I'll give it to you.
I prefer Bruce Campbell doing it. I'll say that.
Actually, it weirdly parallels the Batman franchise from Tim Burton. Like, you have the dark Tim Burton, then you get into kind of lighter and lighter as it goes along until you get to
George Clooney.
Yeah, George Clooney and Bat
with
Nipples.
the bad nipples. Yeah.
So,
Sure.
But I much prefer
Bipples, as I
Army
call
of Darkness to that Batman film.
Right. At least Army of Darkness has a level of understanding,
Self-awareness
of how,
about itself.
of how it's trying to make a fun movie.
Yeah.
And that's very obvious from the get-go in this film.
Mhm.
I love so like this movie starts out with a lot of exposition, and like that intro is perhaps not the strongest intro, but it's still enjoyable for me to like go back through the other movies, and like even though it's a terrible retelling of those movies and like completely inaccurate.
Actually, they had to rewrite for Evil Dead 2. They had to rewrite basically Evil Dead 1 because they couldn't get the rights to show anything from that movie. So basically, in Evil Dead 2, they had to start from square one.
Yeah. I don't know. It's funny. You're right. Like, just real quickly, before we get into scores. Yeah. It's a fine, like, recap, I guess. But the thing is, like, it's sort of like they have to have it so like you know what the fuck is going on, right?
Right.
But at the same time, you're like, what? Okay, like.
Here's the thing: I wonder what it would be like to watch this film with no
Prior
previous knowledge of the Evil Dead.
I'll tell you because I saw Army of Darkness before I saw both Evil Deads when I was younger. This is the first one in the franchise that I saw as a kid.
Must have been a shock to go back and see the other ones.
Kind of was, but I didn't do that till later. All I'm saying is this would got into me. This got me into the franchise.
Yeah.
So I have a fondness and nostalgia, yes, for this movie specifically. But that's all I wanted to say.
It is very much a departure, but that's not that shouldn't be what we're talking about, I suppose.
Sure.
As in terms of this movie, like I said, I enjoyed the intro, but like it's a lot of exposition. Just like it basically feels like most of it is a previously on, section. So I may give this a 2 just because of that. The body is like mostly slapstick, I want to say.
Yeah, like 50%.
But like enjoyable, like funny stuff. It's very much in the vein of
Three Stooges.
Three Stooges, and even like Laurel and Hardy and that type of stuff. But they do some like straight up rip-offs of Three Stooges bits and things like that.
They sure do.
I mean, they quote the Three Stooges, memorable quotes from the Three Stooges in there.
So this movie is what, an hour and 20 minutes long, and I think the last 30 minutes or so is the battle.
And all the budget.
Yeah, and all of their budget. And the battle is a lot of fun. Like, it's actually a pretty decently choreographed battle.
Yep. I agree.
And it is and they don't go away from the jokes keep coming fast and hard, which is good and enjoyable. Like, I still laugh at those jokes. Whether or not... See, I feel like when we say, like, it's like Three Stooges, I feel like somebody who's growing up now might watch this movie and be like, this is so corny, like, this is so dumb. But as you get older, you appreciate this dumbass, like, stupid humor more and more. Or at least I do.
I get what you're saying.
I hate the Three Stooges. I've never liked them.
Well, that's because you're slightly younger than, when they were coming out.
No, that's true.
Slightly.
But I'm a big Cheech and Chong fan, which...
There you go, which is the...
Which I guess is the 70s, 80s,
Right.
Three Stooges.
It's such a weird mixture of all these different... we do narrative here, but it's a weird mixture of all these different genres. But it's like an Errol Flynn movie done by the Three Stooges. At that point.
That's a great log line, too.
Narrative-wise, it's a really, really simple story. And it is stripped of almost any complexity whatsoever. There's a couple touches of it, but...
Not much.
It's pretty much... It's a vehicle for Bruce Campbell to mug in front of the camera and get into slap fights with other versions of himself.
I feel like the entire point of this entire series is for Sam Raimi to have fun and, like, behind the camera, And it seemed like he was, like, doing it more and more throughout each movie. And by this one, he's just like, I'm just gonna do whatever the hell I want. I think it should be hilarious, and I love horror, so let's just combine those. And
that does feel like that way.
I think he does a good job of it. He's good with that, You get into later, like, Spider-Man Sam Raimi, that's like, he's like, now I have a studio that's telling me.
But a simple plan, Sam Raimi, is, like, amazing.
Fair.
I mean, I love
we can talk about the different Sam Raimis all day long.
But I guess you guys saw we were pre-discussing it, and I was going to give intro body conclusion a 3 collectively, but I think you guys might have convinced me that the intro just sort of like they like shove you into it. You're like, what the fuck? You're like, I guess I'll have to accept this. It is a little like stilted, maybe abrupt.
I would say it's Mad Max-ish.
Kind of
to an extent, especially Fury Road.
Maybe
like it feels like Fury Road. He just like gets slapped down onto a desert. I mean. It's even to the setting.
Yes.
It's almost.
I mean, that's funny that you're
like,
right. Yeah.
He's slapped down in a desert, and it's like just immediately gets taken prisoner, and is like what, and is trying to figure out. You're trying to figure out what's going on.
My biggest problem to that is you have the initial him in chains, then there's a 5-10 minute flashback explaining how he got in those chains, and then it's right back to him there. It was done, I guess. Non-linearly in order to add a dramatic moment at the beginning, but it's not really a dramatic moment.
Right.
So, I don't know. I guess the introduction, I think, could use work, and overall the rest of it isn't anything special that could elevate the entire thing to a 3.
Let me ask you guys this, because we don't really talk about this too much anymore, but where do you think the intro ends in this movie?
After he fights the Deadite in the pit.
After or before?
When he leaves.
When he wins.
I was agreeing with Ian when he leaves for the windmill.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, you guys call I would call it differently, but I mean, it's kind of neither here nor there, but interesting question, yeah.
All right, well, let's just call it there for IBC. And, like I said, I'm going to give it a 2.
I'm going with strong 2 as well.
Yeah.
Although I was going to have 3 originally.
Yeah, it's a strong 2.
I'd give mine a little weaker too. I'd probably give it a 1.5, all fairness, because I like the introduction. I like the first act of this better than the rest of the movie, But you guys kind of talk me down on that. All right, a stronger 2 down to a lesser 2. So,
Fair enough.
so thanks, you guys.
Yeah, no problem. All right, well, let's move on to themes, and that's going to be you, Scotty.
All right. Well, again, we were pre-discussing this. This is probably, I'm going to give this a 0. I'll just tell you that outright. Because, as we said, it's sort of like a fun little, like, horror-ish movie with Three Stooges bits. Like, instead of the Three Stooges, it's Bruce Campbell versus, like, claymation skeletons, essentially, like, doing ridiculous shit. And then they have the big battle. So, I mean, what is this movie saying? What am I supposed to extract from it? Nothing. It's just like, it's pure entertainment, really.
Yeah.
So, it's sort of like a default, like, it's not a mark against it per se, but Sam Raimi was not trying to, like, have some hidden deep message or, like, comment upon some socially relevant thing. Like, it's just, an absurd-ish movie throughout. And, yes, entertaining and funny through most of it, I argue for. But really, it doesn't have a theme. Like, how about this? Humorously, don't remember the fucking words that the old man tells you to. If you ever in a situation where an old man says, say these words exactly before you do this thing, remember to do that, otherwise shit might go wrong.
And if he had only watched The Day the Earth Stood Still, he would not have had a problem
with
with
that
that.
too, as well. But yeah, man, there's just not much there, and you can't give it a 1, I don't think anyway.
You do not understand that this work is about the fading of beauty and life.
Is it?
As you go about your adventures in life. No, I agree with you. It's if anything, if I'm going to draw a theme out of this, it's Arthur and what's the other guy? Henry.
Yeah.
You know, they're fighting against each other.
A common enemy.
Then once an other appears, it's almost the inverse of the point to Game of Thrones. But another appears, and now humanity can unite together to face this foe. But I think that was not even the main point of this. It's just pure entertainment. So,
sorry, maybe that. Maybe like when and if the army of the dead arises, whether in Game of Thrones style or in Army of Darkness, humanity will unite to fight them. Maybe.
Yeah. I was just going to say for themes, sometimes a boomstick is just a boomstick.
And sometimes it's wielded by Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, so I don't have much more to say about themes.
I think it's
just a big 0.
Well, I'm going to give it a 0.
You don't have to.
Let's say that
Think for yourself if you want.
All right, Chris, don't tell me what to do.
It's Freud, man.
I'm going to go along with the crowd, okay?
That's what he's thinking.
But it's going to be a 0 for sure.
If everybody read from the Necronomicon, you would, huh?
Fuck yeah, I would.
I already have. But
I'm writing a new chapter.
I'm not saying there's like a deep theme or anything going through this, but I think there's something to be said for something that's just entertaining for entertainment's sake. And this is one of those things that made me believe that, right? Like, so there doesn't have to be a deeper theme in everything that to make it worthwhile, which is normally I look for stuff like that. Normally I'm like, this is like just garbage, like, you know, summer eye candy or whatever. But this movie, in as much as it revels in its own fun that it's having, it makes me have fun while I'm watching it, and that's enough of a theme for me, you know.
All right, so give it a 1.
That might be more of a style, I guess,
but it's not. But it's not really a theme. It's just
that's
like,
what I mean.
Yeah,
you know what, though, I do prefer entertainment for entertainment than a shoehorned in theme that sometimes
I completely
comedies
agree
do.
with that. Yeah,
but there is a balance there, and I think that this is that polar opposite of that shoehorned in one, where it's just Sam Raimi playing with toys, enjoying it. I mean, I enjoy watching the story he's coming up with, but there's no point beyond that.
Yeah, exactly.
Agreed.
It's all surface. It's all surface, and it's fun surface. It's a celebration of horror and like the horror comedy genre.
Yeah.
Of which this was probably one of the like early movies that really delved into what you could do with horror and comedy and mixing those things.
Agreed.
Now, there were earlier movies, but...
Sure, but it was one of the earlier movies is what I mean. You know,
probably...
leading the way to things like Shaun of the Dead and
exactly.
stuff like that.
Exactly.
But
I'll agree and give it a 0 still.
Anyway. Yes. Anyway, let's move on to antagonists. Chris, tell us.
The antagonist is the Evil Dead or I don't know.
Necronomicon.
You know what? The Necronomicon. I don't know. I don't find there to be a strong antagonist in this at all.
Not even Evil Ash?
No, not even Evil
Right,
Ash. I thought he was kind of boring.
Right.
I found him banal.
I found him banal. I actually was going to say
Banal Ash. Anyway, go ahead.
but yeah, I was. I don't know. When you're talking about an unseen evil force, it works if you're doing like a straight. To me, it works better if you're doing like straight horror, like the first Evil Dead. But in this one, it just didn't work for me. They didn't. It kind of like they want to personify it, and it became multiple Ashes to kind of get into Ash and then separate Ash, and it was like. All right, it's just
ashes and ashes.
Ashes and ashes. You all fall down. So, I don't really have much to say in the antagonist. I really didn't find anything really antagonizing that was interesting. I don't know. You guys want to convince me for my 0?
I'll say this real quick. I see what you mean. I guess here's my issue with it. Not issue, but think about this. It's going to be difficult because it's a horror comedy. So the villain himself is like comedic and like, absurd, and it's not maybe always that effective, but the main character, I would say, does in fact feel antagonized by him and his army of Deadites and so forth. What do you think, E?
All right. What it really is again, going back to my metaphor of Sam Raimi playing with toys here.
Okay.
He came up with set pieces that he wanted to see. He had the windmill set piece where he wanted multiple Ashes running around. And,
and that was clever.
Gulliver's Travels Ash.
Yeah, it very much is like watching a Jason the Argonauts and things like that.
Yeah.
Except not in a sense with the seriousness that they did it, but you had the kind of like the different monsters appear and claymation type things. And I think that's what he was going for. He had the castle battle set piece that he wanted and like minor ones within it. So while it's a sequence of villains he wanted to see that were overarching this Evil Dead force. And I know I had fun with it. And I think that like rating whether claymation skeletons are good or not is like an effective antagonist. Yeah, it's not particularly one, but it's fun to see heroes fight them. It's fun to see.
But Ash. I would put that more into style, though.
Yeah, but I'm talking about narratively. It's a hero on a journey fighting these, in a sense, mini bosses along the way until he fought the evil Ash, skeleton Ash at the end. And I enjoyed the travel. I enjoyed these little moments. And perhaps the sum isn't as interesting as the small parts are, but
I see what you mean.
I'm still going to give it maybe a softer one, but I'm still going to give it a 1.
I think I'm falling in your camp, Ian. I don't, in a movie like this, I don't need the antagonist, whether it's Evil Ash or the Necronomicon or just evil in general or whatever is the antagonist. I don't need it to be scary, I guess. I don't need it to be something. This movie is never for even a second trying to pretend to be something that it's not. And it put together antagonists, like small mini boss antagonists, like you said, that were just enjoyable and fun to watch. Like the little mini Ashes running around the windmill were really fun. Taking his love interest and making her evil was a pretty good turn. And Evil Ash himself was just ridiculous, and there was a great battle at the end with him and his whole duel. Becoming becoming the villain and all that stuff were pretty good. Getting buried, he actually had somewhat of an arc, which is strangely enough, he says that he's going to come back and then he finally does, but I think I'm going to give antagonist probably a softer one because it's not like I wasn't concerned for Ash at any point, or it's not like it's not like he feels super antagonized, but I
think he does at times. Go on though.
His enemy is enjoyable to watch, and in a movie like this, that's kind of what I want.
But to go back to like the mythology thing I keep bringing up for these, when you watch Clash of the Titans or Jason and the Argonauts, you're never worried for the sake of the heroes there because you already know the ending. Like, you're more enjoying
What's the ending?
What?
But
Does Jason win?
You're enjoying the ride that they're going through and the small challenges they're facing, and and it's interesting to see. Oh, how is Ash here going to overcome this situation the first time going? Not, oh, I don't think he's going to die at any point or he's going to lose at any point.
Right.
But like, how is he going to beat this thing? So.
I'm just going to say this. I'm not a huge fan of Evil Dead 2. However, for a film that I think doesn't really know exactly what it wants to be, but really delves with like a lot of the parody and a lot of slapstick, I feel like they, in a more jovial way, made the evil antagonist much more interesting in that film. I mean, like I said, I'm going to give that film credit where credit is due, and I would give I felt the handling of it in a way they did this a lot more over the top. I found that to be more interesting. I found this to be a lot less interesting.
But I would say those are very
well, no. But my whole point is that you can still do something in this vein to me and make the villain interesting. And I just didn't find the way they personify the evil in this one interesting.
So you're saying that from Evil Dead 2, they took a sharp left turn.
Yes, they did take a sharp left turn,
but not in a good way, according to you.
Well, no, for antagonists. No, I'm going to say.
All right.
Well,
that's fine.
I'll bring in my 2 cents. I'm probably mostly on Ian's and Stevo, your side, and of course, like I think I admitted my affinity and nostalgia and bias from my love of Armor of Darkness. But yeah, I think the point that I guess I would piggyback on is that. Yeah, he's an absurd. It's Bruce Campbell playing against himself, essentially. So, like, that's kind of going to be entertaining. And he's playing, like, an over-the-top version of his evil self. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, it may not be, like, scary, as you said, or whatever, but it's entertaining to watch because of that fact. And I think it's enjoyable throughout. So, I'll give it a solid, if not soft 1, maybe solid, but still 1.
Yeah. All right. So, we'll call it on that. And we'll move on to Protagoniste, which is Ash, played by Bruce Campbell.
Hail to the king, baby.
One of the better protagonists ever in the history of film.
No argument from me, dude.
He's just incredible, and he has this weird, like, goofy charisma that plays perfectly. It feels like he's always hamming it up for the camera, but like effortlessly somehow. And it just... He's so good and so much fun to watch. And I don't know, there's not that much more to say about it, I don't think. Like, he's just a fun protagonist to watch. It's not like there's a ton of substance to his character or anything like that. It's just that
yeah.
his I guess I'll go back to the same word again. His charisma just carries him through all these movies, and that's why everybody watches him.
Let me say one thing. I think you described Mr. Potter from Eternal Life as walking cash. Bruce Campbell / Ash as walking charisma.
Yeah.
Essentially. So that's why he's going to be an engaging protagonist. That's pretty much all I'm going to say. Go ahead.
So I want to make 2 points. The first I already kind of brought up earlier on, where it reminds me a lot of Harrison Ford doing Indiana Jones or Han Solo.
Right.
Except instead of it coming off smoothly, it always comes off kind of... It has the same kind of charisma and swagger to it, but then he falls in mud.
Yeah, right. It's charmingly awkward, I guess I'll say.
But even when he does that, he's still charming.
You know? Exactly.
So it's almost like a parody of that type of hero, but to the point that I still like... I have a different reaction to it, but I still kind of... It's like having a friend of yours that you like who's full of himself, and then like... It's Schadenfreude in a way of like... I still like you as a friend, but I'm glad to have seen you slipped in that mud.
Yeah, exactly.
And my second point was that Ash should not have become a cultural icon, as it has, or at least a cultural icon in the nerd kind of world. There's no reason that Evil Dead should
be as big as it is.
Yeah. But
Bruce Campbell
single-handedly.
Makes that. Exactly.
And
that's his whole point.
And I think that the fact that Ash is still relevant today.
I've seen
after all these
people
things.
dressed up as him almost every single Halloween that I've been around to remember Halloweens.
Yeah.
Is a testament to the
Yeah,
performance.
exactly.
There, so.
I think Bruce Campbell is actually a very good actor. I've seen him in a lot of stuff, and I've seen him in stuff that I haven't liked, and I've always liked him. I mean, I like the character Ash. I think the one constant, regardless of the tone of each one of these 3 Evil Dead movies, is that he handles the material very well.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether or not the writers or regardless of whatever, he handles the material awesomely. I mean, he's actually much more versatile than people give him credit for.
So, I kind of agree with you, but I will say this. Bruce Campbell is a good actor. I wouldn't say he's like a brilliant actor by any means. However, I think that his personality,
His
like
persona,
his personality carries him through whatever. Like, he's not like Gary Oldman where he can just play anybody, right?
No.
Anytime Bruce Campbell plays somebody, it's Bruce Campbell as that character.
Yeah.
Not
But-
always.
What are you talking? Like,
I'll give you an example. He was cameoed in the most recent season of Fargo as Ronald Reagan, but it was like obviously Bruce Campbell playing Ronald Reagan.
yeah, exactly.
But I thought he did a
That's what
good.
you mean.
But the thing is, I thought he did a good job with
It's
that.
not-
He
I'm not
never.
saying he didn't
it's not
do
that
it.
But no, what I'm
did a
saying is
bad
he
job.
didn't ring. He never once winked at the camera.
I
He
understand,
is
but I'm just saying.
he's a very recognizable person. But like as an actor, like Bubba Hotep, if you've ever seen
Yeah,
him.
I love
Right.
Bubba Hotep.
Yeah,
but he's fucking Bruce Campbell in Bubba Hotep.
Yeah, but that's because of Bruce Campbell. If you like think about the way he portrays, he's not always playing Ash, is what I'm probably trying to say.
No,
And
he's not.
but everybody kind of that's the expectation is that Bruce
I
Campbell's
see
going
what
to
you're
play
saying, but
Ash. And what I'm saying is,
he's always playing Bruce Campbell in whatever he is. Ash is Bruce Campbell.
But-
in Bubba Hotep, he's Bruce Campbell.
I disagree
in
with you,
Burn
though.
Notice, he's Bruce Campbell.
I disagree with you, but
As Ronald Reagan, he's fucking Bruce Campbell. Like, you can't
That's what I'm
separate
saying,
Bruce
yeah.
Campbell
I'm
from, like,
agreeing with you.
he's got that level of charisma, he's got that level of, like, personality that he's always him. It's not like he can melt into a role like some actors can, like Gary Oldman or
As you said,
Daniel
yeah.
Day-Lewis
Yeah.
or whoever. That's not him. That's not his style of acting, and I don't think
it wouldn't work for him.
it doesn't matter
Yeah.
that that's not his style of acting. I love him and everything he's in because he has that Bruce Campbell-ness
Yeah.
about him, you know?
The Campbell factor. Now I agree with you.
And if I may, enjoy cold beer.
Just taking
Please.
a moment. Enjoy cold beer. Well, I mean, I
I'm sorry to break the fourth wall
That's
here.
okay. Uh-oh. Whoa. Take it.
Uh-oh.
Hail to the king, bitch. But no, I mean, I pretty much agree exactly what you guys have said. For those reasons, and I'm
Lot
going
ahead.
to give it a 1.
Yeah, I think we're all giving it 1.
yeah.
Yeah, all ones all around. And then we're going to go to supporting with Ian on this.
Now, I'm torn with this
It's a tough one. I know. I agree.
I'm not torn at all. I'll
because
tell you why.
I like Griswold, the blacksmith,
All right.
I'm with you.
but I don't.
That face that he makes is the best.
Yes.
You've got
His
my
mustache
axe.
is fantastic.
Go on.
But like Sheila was okay.
Agree.
I thought she
Oh.
was fun.
She's a plot device. She was barely a plot device.
Yeah.
I thought she had fun with the role.
I think
Yeah.
that Henry had a lot of fun with his role for what limited time he had. But overall, it felt like a lot of extras running around, and some of them had lines.
It's a funny description.
I'm going to agree with you except for one person, the priest. The
Old
priest, I
wise
love
man
the
guy?
priest.
The wizard
the
guy?
wizard guy,
Yeah.
the one who was like saying Klaatu Brock.
He's the wise man.
Yeah.
They say it. Anyway.
I
He
think
was
he
cute.
did a lot to elevate.
And that you stole my answer. That's what I was going to say
Yeah.
as evidence. So what
If
do you
I
got?
may,
Go ahead.
All of the skeletons,
The skeletons. I knew you were going to go
as
with that.
one like supporting character were amazing. Like, they had such good lines. They were so much fun.
Well, because they're all puns and you love
Yeah.
that shit.
Of course, and they're all like, they're all just Three Stooges.
But they're the
lines and
plot.
shit.
They're the set pieces and the antagonists I was talking about.
They're a part. They're characters in the film, whether or not they're there for 2 seconds.
Well, then they're antagonists in my mind.
I, see what you mean.
I don't know if they're. I don't know if I view them as antagonists. I see like Evil Ash as the antagonist, and maybe the book, but not like the
random
everyone
skeletons.
who's evil.
Get a shovel and start digging.
But again, like I like. We're just gonna call him the blacksmith. I forget what his name is.
Doesn't
in the
even matter
movie.
what his
Doesn't
name is.
matter. Henry is good. I enjoyed him.
Arthur is the other guy that the other night guy.
Arthur, I could give a shit.
I'm just saying
about.
he's
like honestly, he wasn't that great.
Sure.
You could give a shit.
I could or I couldn't.
You could take or leave Arthur.
Either one, really. Yeah. And Sheila was fine. I think that she had fun like playing that role, and I appreciate that as far as actors go. And that's it. And the chainsaw.
Yeah. And,
Chainsaw.
his boomstick, obviously,
It is boomstick.
counts, and maybe his horse. But no, I mean, I agree. Like, as I said, I would pick the wise man as like if we're doing our favorite one.
Yeah.
And like I think everything else.
I think I kind of agree
no matter
with
where
that,
you come
too.
down on the skeletons, but I'm probably more on your side, and Sheila and like and Henry for sure. They all collectively, I think, equal a 1, at least for me.
I'm gonna give it a 1 for those characters. There's no supporting character that's like
Stand out.
holy shit, that was amazing. But I liked. I don't think any of the supporting characters took away from the movie, and I thought that some of them added a good amount to it.
The problem I have is that I never thought I was in medieval Europe. and not that I'm expecting it,
You're
but
not supposed to.
it always felt Renaissance fairy.
Yeah. I
And
think kind of on purpose, but I see what you mean.
well, yeah, but it didn't work for
Right.
me
I
for
get
that
it.
reason. So I'm
Yeah.
going to give it a 0.
That's
for
fine.
sporting.
Perfectly fair.
That's fine. I'm gonna give it a 1. Scott, you're your 1?
Yep.
Chris?
Yep.
1?
1.
All right. Well then, Scotty, let's move on to you with a dialogue.
Oh, thank you. Give me some sugar, buddies. Like, I mean, this movie
I
is
prefer not.
this movie. Well, you got real ugly, and that's it. But really, like as you said, it sort of ties into like Bruce Campbell as the actor playing this character. But this movie is built of dialogue, and I think it's like the thing is you mentioned like I could see maybe younger audiences who didn't grow up on it to the degree that we sort of did, or at least myself, might think it's cheesy or like just like sappy, like unfunny shit. But I still think it works. It doesn't always work, or at least not as much to the extent previously, but I still think the gags work. Bruce Campbell, like you said, brings so much to it. It's like, all those lines, the printed screw headlines, everything like, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants, like all this stuff, like we know them because they're effective, or at least I think memorable for sure. And it's sort of like nonstop. For example, I'll give you a gag that I love is when Floyd falls down, and then also when the Deadite first comes, he makes a deal with the wise men and the knights and the thing, and like the Deadite comes and attacks, and the second Ash beats him, the old man just walks as if nothing has happened. He's like, as I was saying, you must go get the Necronomicon. like the movie is like very self-aware about that shit. So like all the gags and all that, and yeah, every line out of his mouth is fucking gold, and like everything else rounds it out. So it has to be a 1. This has to be the strongest one for me.
I agree with that. It's just all one-liners, just awesome quips and eminently quotable. This movie, and that's
pretty much.
I think that's my entire argument.
Yeah, I mean, me
Yeah,
too.
I'll give the dialogue a 1.
I have a lot of nostalgia with this film, and I try to go in with a fresh eyes. And yeah, I found faults in the movie going in with fresh eyes, but I still think it's rapid fire machine gun like humor involved with that, and
for sure,
especially does the dialogue always work? But it hits far more than it misses. And
oh yeah, by far.
I have to give it a very, very strong.
And I agree with Scott. A lot of it's the delivery, and that especially between the wise man and Ash. Bruce Campbell and that actor had so much charisma. They had so much chemistry together that those lines they worked really well when they were bantering between the two of them. So they took even like banal lines and made them interesting.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah, I don't
think there's much more to say.
I think that's pretty much it. So we're all gonna go 1s. It's just a lot of fun listening, going through this and listening to the dialogue on it. So let's talk about style on this low budget film. Chris,
this one's tough because while I've always been a fan of Ray Harryhausen, I love the stop motion and all that stuff. The Three Stooges stuff it kind of got grating on me after a while.
I can see what you mean.
Really, so like I'm really on the fence with this because my first impulse was to give it a 0 because it grew tiresome for me to the point where like as much as I appreciate the stop motion, I really really like it. Just overall the aesthetic, and that's to me which is a lot of the detriment of the second half and even the battle. It was because there had a lot of clever things in it, like the exploding arrows and all that stuff, and some clever gags. but I don't know, the way it was done, it's not really my favorite.
It's not your jam?
No, it's not my jam. But again, as I said,
see what you mean.
Raimi can do this well. And again, in a movie that I'm not particularly fond of, I think he does it really well in Evil Dead 2. This one, I don't think it works because I think less is more with it. And I think it just got to the point where it just didn't stop.
Okay.
All right. I see what you mean. And you're right. This one was sort of like difficult to cut up in my own mind. How should I come down on it? And yeah, the thing is, there was for example, the graveyard set. It looked so obviously fake, almost like fucking Beetlejuice. What I mean?
Yeah. It felt Beetlejuicy in certain points.
For sure. But at the same time, I would argue that it's sort of part of the charm of this movie is stuff like that.
Although this came out before Beetlejuice, right?
Yeah, maybe.
No, after.
I don't know.
Was it after?
Yeah, it was after.
I don't really
Wow.
remember. It doesn't matter. But it's in that style. It's you have the claymation skeletons, like we said, and all that. So I think they made a lot work with a little. And I see what you mean. I think, Chris, you might have thought it got a little bloated with some of that stuff in a sense. Perhaps.
But see, it wasn't like the stop motion or anything. It was actually the way the camera worked.
No, I get
how
it.
they,
Yeah. Sure, I see what you mean. But I still
production design wise, even at its campiest, I loved.
All right.
It was how he played with his toys.
Fair
His
enough.
toys were fantastic.
Fair enough. Yeah, so I guess I'm probably going to come down with a softish to solid 1 because I think it works more often than not. And yeah, even though you can point out, you can point to this and that and say, I don't know if it didn't quite stand up, but I think overall, percentage-wise, if I usually do my math percentage, 60 to 70% better, and the rest was a little iffy, but it's still enough to give me a 1.
It's a low-budget slapstick movie, and I like slapstick humor. So this is going to color my score I give there because I thought it did well making me laugh the entire time, and I think that was the intention. The intention was to entertain. The intention of the style was used not to show you sweeping shots or great cinematography.
It's not Citizen Kane, man.
Let's have let's do the set pieces and have as much fun as we can.
Yeah, exactly.
And I shared in that experience, so I'm going to give it a 1 to that.
Yeah, I completely,
Well said.
I completely agree with that. I think it was a film that was on a budget. They did what they could with the special effects that they had available. The stop motion stuff, as you said, Chris, was really good. The soundtrack was actually enjoyable as well.
I was surprised there was no Wilhelm scream though.
There definitely was.
Was there one? I didn't hear it.
There was a skeleton Wilhelm scream, so
Okay.
it wasn't a human, but it definitely
Wilhelm scream.
Yeah, yes,
Wilhelm.
exactly.
But that, I thought the soundtrack was fun. The sound effects were weird and also fun.
Terrifying.
The just kind of the overall aesthetic was consistent throughout, and I really enjoyed that. Especially going back and watching this movie, let me watch this movie. Basically, you watch this movie and you're like, let me get some camp in my life because I need that, and that's what this movie provides to you.
Oh, good.
One last point is that I really enjoy the Adam West Batman television
Style.
show.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of a very similar thing where, obviously, they're you see it in the thing that they're climbing a building, but they're obviously just walking crouched down.
Right. And the camera's on the side.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's I don't go in expecting Adam West to be great cinema. I go in expecting it to entertain me. And that's the same thing I do with Raimi's Evil Dead series.
I'll say, I agree with that for sure. That's a good
Especially
point.
this one.
Yeah. That's a good angle. And I'll say 2 more things. I was going to actually lead off with this, so I buried the lead. 1, mechanical knight hand for style. And 2,
fun stuff.
Medieval tank car, whatever kind of car he has.
Yeah.
I was just going to say about slapstick. I enjoy slapstick to a certain point, but I was going to say with regard to pacing and story, 2 of my favorite movies are Young Frankenstein and Blazing Saddles. And I think they handle slapstick in a way that I feel like, I just want to explain that I'm not denigrating slapstick. It was just that I thought
Stop
it was
hating on slapstick, man.
Chris only likes Mel
fuck?
Brooks.
Yeah. No, Chris.
No, that's not true. There's a lot of Mel Brooks.
Chris.
Hates everybody except for Mel Brooks.
You said you don't like the Three Stooges, right?
Yeah.
This is much closer to Three Stooges than it is to Mel Brooks.
Exactly.
And
I guess I was just trying to not diss
I get
slapstick. It's just the flavor of it.
I get you. I absolutely
Fair
get
enough.
you. So
Well-
I'm still giving it a 1.
Yep. I think it's going to be 3 1s and a 0.
Yep.
3 Stooges and a 0.
Yep.
And let's move on to a recommendation with me. I would say go watch this movie. You out there, go watch this movie because it is fun.
It's fun and it's funny.
It's fun and it's funny. If you're wanting to have a good time, you can do much worse than watching Army of Darkness. I think that it is a movie that's pretty much enjoyable anytime. If you're having a bad day, it'll cheer you up. If you're having a good day,
feel even better.
You'll be even better at the end of it. It's just like, it's just campy, hilarious, and a good way to spend an hour and 20 minutes. It's also very short, which which may be good for you if you're looking for something. So go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Just real quickly, it's the perfect length. If we didn't mention it, it is paced perfectly. There's not a there's nothing else that needs to be in this movie at all. And if there was more, it would suffer for it.
Yeah,
it actually felt faster than an hour and 20 minutes. I was like, this is a really short movie, and I was like, this is over already.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
It does fly by.
It goes really fast, and the plot progresses super quickly.
It does fly by, and like I said, it's one of my favorite Halloween movies, and perhaps movies in general. But I think it totally still stands. It's a great, entertaining, highly enjoyable Halloween movie to watch. So if you've never seen it, and if you haven't seen it in a while, check it out. Army of Darkness fucking kicks ass, and still great.
I recommend this personally. It's one of my favorite movies. I grew up on this film. That said, if you're looking for a good horror film for Halloween,
this isn't a horror film.
Yeah, it's not a horror film.
It's a left turn.
If you're looking for a fun slapstick, if you like slapstick humor and you like the Three Stooges type humor, this is right for you. If you're not into that kind, you're not going to like this. But so there's my. I mean, even a 1 because personally, I recommend this to everyone. I that's my type of. This is my jam, as the kids say today.
This is my army, dude. This is my Necronomicon.
No, I definitely recommend. It's worth at least one viewing. I think it's an enjoyable film. This is the 3rd time I've seen it, and the last time I saw was the alternate ending one. But other than that, I enjoy the movie. I mean, it's got a lot of, for parts that I'm not so fond of, it's got a lot of parts that I love, and the production design's great. Greg Nicotero works on it. All of our favorites like Patricia Tallman, stunt woman extraordinaire.
Nice,
she plays the witch. It's got a lot of fantastic Easter eggs for those of us who grew up in, watching this kind of stuff. I mean, there's a Fangoria magazine in the back of his, and I used to read Fangoria growing up. I mean, it's probably part of why I am the way I am.
50s?
No, I think it came out in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember, but my whole point is there's a lot of great little Easter eggs. It's got a great production design. You guys said it never tries to be anything other than it is. It is a very earnest movie. I enjoy the hell out of watching it, even if some of these stylistically I'm not so keen on. It's a good looking film.
And I just want to bring up one more thing. I don't know where else to bring it up. That there's in fact an alternate ending / cut of Army of Darkness, which I didn't know about till years later. I didn't know that it had 2 endings until my 7th time seeing it, and I saw that version of it. So yeah, it also is a nice little bonus if you happen to have a version or can get one that has both. Nice little surprise, a little bit of a different turn on top of the left turn that this movie already is.
There's 800,000 versions of this film. I'm sure one of them has it. DVDs,
extreme.
No, go check out the Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. There's 50
I believe him.
different Blu-rays, DVDs, whatever. I mean, there's
what have yous.
Yeah,
sure.
All right.
So
one bound in human flesh.
Yeah.
One hopes.
That's the one. That's the copy I have.
Oh shit.
All right. So we're gonna go to the scores now, and this might be the first time this has ever happened. And I'll tell you what that is in a second. But Scott and I gave this movie an 8. Ian, the usual curmudgeon, gave the movie a 7. And Chris, who perhaps for the first time ever has given this movie the lowest score of everybody here, gave it a 6.
My God.
Oddly enough.
Wait, that's not true. There's movies that have given lower scores.
You usually give a 0 or a 10.
That's true.
That's not true. It's usually a 0, 1, 9, or a 10.
This is an audience challenge. Go back and go through the old movies and see.
See if Chris has ever given the lowest score on a movie.
Yes.
I bet I don't know. We both gave Suicide Squad a
All right.
2. I don't know. I say my lowest score was a 1. But then again, we haven't gotten to the garage.
I don't even know what that would be.
You want to see a 0?
But anyway, it doesn't matter.
What does that come out to, Steve-O?
Oh, yes. So 2 8s, a 7, and a 6 comes out to a... Shit.
Do the math.
I didn't do the math first.
Evil Ash fucking you up.
6, 7, 7.
If only we could encrypt skeletons to do the math for us.
Yeah.
It would be a lot easier.
I believe it's 7.7. No, 6.7.
Oh, it can't be 6.
7.25.
Okay. And I think if that's true,
I think.
if you did it correctly, that's probably about right for Army of Darkness.
We'll figure it out eventually.
It's
We'll let you
something
guys
like
know.
that.
We'll let you know in the liner notes.
Leave in the comments section
That's
if
on me,
Steve-O
you
did the
guys.
math right.
Yeah, Steve-O, you fucked
Hashtag
up.
did Steve-O do the math right.
Yes, exactly.
But in the meantime, we're going to sign off. So, I've been Steve-O, here with Chris Morgan.
Klaatu, Barato, Nishto. I said that wrong. Fuck it.
Yeah,
Well,
just a
thereabouts.
So did Ash.
That's I didn't say
couple tiny little syllables. Ian Mazer
Doing the math.
and Scott Thurlow.
Shop S Smart. See you next time.
7.25.
I was right.
Editing and engineering by Christopher Morgan. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates.